Hello and welcome to the Universe Guru podcast. My name is Mina Irfan, and this is my first podcast episode. So, many of you guys will probably know me from my YouTube channel, The Universe Guru. And this is something you guys have been requesting for a really long time. Finally, I feel like it's time for me to start a podcast version of my YouTube channel. So, for those of you guys that are new and don't know me, hi, I am a feminine energy success coach. I work with really high achieving, successful women who feel burnt out and like something's missing in life despite having all of like the masculine accolades in life. Now, I love men and I love women. So, this is not one of those podcasts or channels or anything where we are, against each other. I'm a student of life. I want to learn why people behave the way they do and how we can improve our lives by inner work, personal development, self-help. So I have been sharing my journey on YouTube for the last 12 years. I know, almost 12 and a half. Yeah, 12 and a half years through my own journey of being a child of immigrant parents, born and raised in the United States, going through sexual abuse and a host of other issues in my childhood, which ended up putting me in masculine energy. And I didn't even know this, right? Like I had this trauma, and my fight or flight response to it was to go more in my masculine energy. And this caused a lot of destruction in my life. It saved my life in some ways, but it also kept me away from living the kind of life that I really wanted to live. So I've gone through this whole journey of inner work and transformation. And through the process, of documenting that on my YouTube, I ended up becoming a life coach, creating 60 different courses. I'm currently writing my second book. So a lot has happened. What I want to do on this podcast is continue sharing the kind of things that I've been sharing on YouTube, personal development, self help, relationships, all of the things that make our life better. But what I want to specifically do in this episode is give you a couple of things that will show you whether you know how to receive or not. When we step overly into our masculine energy, we become very independent, or we feel independent, but we're really not. And because of that, we lose our power or our ability to receive. So, what I want to do is give you these three signs that will help you realize if you've lost that part of yourself. Okay. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, I've figured out this amazing way to do this on Zoom where I can post on my podcast and on YouTube at the same time. And you want to join my podcast, I'll leave the link in the description box, or you can go to any of the places that you listen and search for the Universe Guru and you should find it. So, number one, if you feel like you always have to do it yourself, like others just can't do it or they won't do it, and you have to do it yourself. You know that story we tell ourselves that if you need it done right, you got to do it yourself. It's one of those kind of things, okay? So if you feel like you have to do everything yourself, that is a clear sign that you have lost your ability to receive. Number two, when people do help, whether these are coworkers, family members, our spouse, children, when they do have help, you feel like it needs to be corrected in some way. There's something that you have to add to it, fix to it. It's not done right. If this is you, I'm here to tell you, you have lost the ability to receive. Number three, in the event that they do it, and let's say in some miraculous way, they actually end up doing it correctly, there's this feeling in you that, okay, fine, you did it this one time, but is this consistent? Is this going to show up again? If this is you, if you don't trust that help is available and help is available consistently, that people will be there for you, then you have lost the ability to receive. Now, this is something where I've been on both sides of this, so I can really understand this. I have been that independent babe, which I call in my work the self-aware Barbie. As you get to learn more about my work, if you're new, you will learn my 4 stages, and I'll be sharing more of those in future podcasts. But if you are very independent as a woman, or even as a man, like we can have masculine and feminine energies as a man or a woman, right? And you feel like any of these things are true for you, then you are more in your masculine energy and you're in your wounded. It's like the wounded masculine, okay? So when I have been in that place where I felt like no one's there for me, I've got to do it all by myself. Even if they do it, it's not right. I'm going to have to correct them anyways. Might as well just do it my way. Or even if they did do it right, it's like, yeah, but it was this one time. Is this consistent? And unfortunately, I've also been on the other end where I am trying to help someone else or give to someone else, and they are just not able to receive. They either don't let me give, or when I give, it's not enough, it's not correct, or there's this place of mistrust like, fine, you helped me this one time, but is this consistent? And let me tell you that it is equally exhausting on both ends. It is so exhausting. Is exhausting to have the world on your own shoulders and feel like you are the only one that has to do everything, that if you don't do it, it's not going to be done, that you're by yourself. I mean, you could be like surrounded by people and feel alone and like by yourself. I have been that person. And I've also been on the other end where it's like, hello, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to give to you. And the other person just simply cannot receive it. So just becoming mindful of this as a pattern in ourselves. Let me tell you that when I'm in the end, when I'm trying to give to someone and they can't receive, one of the things that I've just learned to do, depending on how important this person is in my life, like if they're in my inner circle, it's different. I might try to work with them. But if they're not, my natural response is, okay, fine, go ahead and do it yourself. And it's interesting because you're now playing into their belief system. Like they have created a story in their mind that people are not there for them, that they're by themselves and everything has to be done, alone. And even when people are trying to help you, they're shutting that down. And therefore they're more committed to the story of no one's there for me. And even the people that are, they're just going to be like, okay, fine, you go ahead and do it yourself. So it's this nasty pattern on both sides that we have to become aware of. And again, I think this is just beyond even the conversation of masculine and feminine, because whether you're a man or a woman, not that femininity and masculinity has much to do with gender. I mean, it does in some ways, but in others, it doesn't. But just our ability to receive is so deeply connected to our evolutionary need to connect, to give, to receive, to pour into, and to be poured into, right? Like both things are so necessary to our survival and thrival, like to being happy, to giving love and receiving love. Like from the other perspective, if you can't receive, you're basically rejecting someone's love. And I know that it definitely doesn't feel on both sides because I've been on both sides. And so this is something that if both parties became mindful of the pattern, like, I was talking about, I only care if it's my inner circle at this point. Like, I noticed this with even people very, very close to me in my immediate family. Like, if they couldn't receive, I had to sit them down and say, hey, I'm trying to give to you. And I've noticed this pattern in you. You have this story going on. And because of this story, you're actually rejecting my love so that you can keep up with that story of no one wanting to help you. And it has been very awkward. Sometimes it's been well received, and at other times it hasn't been, but it has changed people's lives because over time they started seeing their own pattern. You can't unsee it when someone points it out. And they started catching themselves in those moments where they were literally rejecting someone's help. And I think as women, especially, we've been told this lie that if someone gives us something, then there's some kind of a price to pay. Like, literally raise your hand if this has happened to you. Not that I can see you right now, but you know who you are, right? Like, we've been told, hey, if we receive help, then there's some kind of a price. We're going to have to pay them back. We're going to have to do things we don't want to do. And I think that this is a myth that keeps us stuck in this dynamic. To be feminine is to receive. And actually, this goes with our femininity in both men and women and children. To be able to receive opens up so many doors for us in receiving even divine gifts, like even receiving things from the divine, things from God. So I really believe that when we are in a space of receiving, we turn off that part of our brain, the amygdala, that's responsible for that fight or flight response. When we feel like we're being chased by an imaginary lion and it's just all on us, we have to do this ourselves. So that is my message for today. If you're watching this on YouTube, you may be wondering why you can't see me in this video. So, what I did is I really wanted to start this podcast for many different reasons. And one of the things that's been happening on my end is that since I moved into this new home a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, this was a big move for us. You guys know this if you've been following us on YouTube for a while. And this home has given us access to so much more nature. I didn't even know my soul was literally crying out for this until we moved here. And, at first it started with spending an hour outside and then 2 hours outside. And within the last year, my family has moved to spending 4 or 5 hours outside in nature every day. And oh my God, it's been so nourishing to our souls. Like, talk about receiving. Like, nature just puts you in that receptive mode of just receiving all of the divine blessings and all of them for free, right? So, one thing I immediately noticed as we started spending more time in nature is that when I would come back inside and if I watched TV or went on the internet, I noticed that things felt really fast and everything just felt louder, brighter, amplified in a sort of unnatural way. Now, I have nothing against TV or social media. You guys know I've built my entire community, my business, like online, being online and sharing my message and helping women from all walks of life. Like, nothing brings me more joy, right? I love it. However, it became really clear to me how much and how fast the online world has been changing from what is our evolutionary roots. So in nature, everything is, for the most part, I mean, other than tsunamis and hurricanes and stuff, things are relatively effortless. They're calm, and there is a certain color palette and a certain pace that comes in nature. The pace, the color patterns, the movement, the speed that is currently being projected to us on social media, it's vastly different than what we have evolved to see and perceive. And I started noticing that when I would spend a lot of time outside, like sort of in our like Homo sapien natural habitat, and then when I come online, my eyes would hurt. Like, I noticed that I get more easily fatigued now going online. So I think my body, my nervous system, my eyes, like everything has been like recalibrating to nature. And all of a sudden, like this artificial reality that we've created, which, hello, I love parts of it, right? But this artificial reality we've created just started hurting in some way, like hurting my eyes and hurting my senses. And so one of the things I've been really mindful of in the last 3 or 4 months is removing this over stimulation of sensory input. So I've been watching less fast-moving content. I'm not on TikTok. You guys know my team runs that, but I don't consume TikTok at all. But I feel like some of these like more younger platforms, I'm in my 40s by the way, in case you're wondering, some of these younger platforms they're just faster moving. They're just edited in certain ways, and the music is faster. And honestly, I just can't take, like, my nervous system just doesn't want it. It just wants to reject it. And so, of course, I realized that being on YouTube and having thousands of videos, I'm also sort of a part of the problem. I love the message that I share, but I don't necessarily like being in the public eye. I've shared this with you guys before. Like, I'm extremely introverted. I don't like being on social media in a very like visual way. So the solution that I've been praying about came to me, and it was podcasting. But of course, I was like, well, I can't just, ignore or ditch my YouTube audience. So I prayed about it. And then I asked a couple of my students who have podcasts, and the feedback I got was, hey, is there a way that you can do both at the same time? And Zoom was thrown around. And that was music to my ears because I'm familiar with Zoom. I don't have to learn anything new here. And so I decided if I do this on Zoom in audio format, it automatically also formats it as a video. So I'm going to put the video version on YouTube and the audio version on Spotify. And then I think it goes off to like Apple and all other places. There's also a way to listen to podcasts via the YouTube Music app. So you can also use that. So I'm not saying that I'll never be on YouTube on camera. Of course, I will. You guys know I also, have moments where I love that. But this is going to be my go-to for this season of life, especially as I'm writing my second book and have other sort of creative priorities at the moment. So I'm going to be using this podcast feature more and more, and that way I can still share my message without necessarily having to go on video. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I know you could comment, let me know what you think. I don't know how podcasting comments work, so if you know, please let me know. I don't know how listeners of podcasts can connect to me with me. If there is a way, happy to learn. This is very new to me. So, yeah, letting this be easy and as simple as possible. So I'm not going to do intros and outros. Honestly, when I listen to podcasts and if I'm binge watching, I hate having to forward through everything. So I'm literally going to keep this as easy as possible. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.